Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. My name's Tracy, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make a round granny. I can't say granny square, so it's because it's a round, so it's a granny round. There's a lot of mandala patterns, however you want to say it, out there, but they're all kind of intricate. But this is just a basic granny in the round. It took me a little while to work it out, so I've done this swatch until I get the pattern how I want. I'm making another blanket, but I wanted that one to be quite lacy. I always get the camera in the wrong direction. You think I'd know that up is down and down is up, but never mind. So yes, this is what I've done so far. It's my swatch, and it is nice and round. The way that we have to increase does occasionally throw it out of shape a little bit, and it rights itself on the next few rounds. Obviously changing colours means you do get a lot of ends, and if I were making this as a blanket, I will be a bit more creative of how I how I crochet those in. I've got that off to a bit of an art form, getting rid of those, but this was just a quick one that I got together just to show you. I'm doing this with the magic seam as well, so not ending off every round, although you could if you wanted to. But I'm just doing it, as I say, with the kind of magic seam method that I do most things. If you're making a blanket or anything that's a little larger than this, then obviously these rounds here are perfect for your smaller offcuts of yarn. But I'm just using this as a stash buster because I've got lots and lots of wool that I've yarn that I have started on for various projects, but got substantial amount left, but not enough to make a project. So I'm just going to use that and do this as a stash buster. So how do we do this? Okay, so I'm using a 4.5mm crochet hook, and I'm using, this is a clover and more, because I'm trialing those at the moment. So and I've got my various yarns here to start with. So I'm going to start with this colour. I do have some smaller balls, but I think I brought enough in my little basket, couldn't handle anymore. So I'm going to pull some yarn out, and for this tutorial you start with a slip knot. So the way I was taught, this is not how I make my slip knot now, but how I was taught is to make a ring, put the yarn behind it and just pull it through, and then you've got a nice little slip knot. Insert your hook, and I'm going to chain 5 because there's a lot going in that initial chain. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chain. I'm going to slip stitch into the first one to make a ring, and I'm going to chain 2. And this is going to count as my first UK treble crochet, which in the US is a double crochet. So now I want 6 shells or clusters of 3 trebles together. So I'm going to do 2 more into that ring. I do have tutorials for all of these stitches if you're a beginner and you want to familiarise yourself with them. So now I've got 3 stitches, the first of which are my 2 chain here and 2 more. So I'm going to do 1 chain, and now I want another cluster of 3, and I'm going to work over the tail as I'm going as well to get rid of that. So I've got 1, 2 and 3, and I'm going to separate it by another chain. I'm going to pull it round because it will get a bit congested in there, and I'm going to do another 3, and another chain, and I'm going to continue making my 3s until I've got 6 sets, and that's 3 of them. That is 4. 5. Now this is my last one, and I'm not going to do a chain afterwards. So I'm going to just do my 3 and I'm just going to join with a stitch rather than by doing a chain and then having to end off. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to go into the second of those two chain, so the top one. So there's my stitch, and there is the top chain. So I'm going to just use that and I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop, so I have 3 on my hook. So I've yarned over, gone into the top chain, and I've pulled up a loop, so I have 3 on my hook, and I'm going to leave it there for a second and just cut off, oops, nearly dropped my scissors, cut off that yarn and go for my next colour. So that will be this pink colour. You can just use any colours you want. You can have a definite colour scheme throughout yours if you wanted, or you can just do it random, sort of like I have. So now I'm going to hold on to this yarn so it does, that's that one. So I'm holding on to this one so it doesn't get these stitches all baggy, and I'm going to hold on to that one as well. So I've now got them held together at the back, and I'm going to complete that stitch by yarning over and going through all 3 with my new colour. Now I know that some people don't tie this, but I'm going to, just for that extra security. I'm just going to tie that. I don't want to pull it too tight because I don't want it to distort this stitch or make anything. I'm going to do 2 on this one because I don't like sewing, so I'm going to do as much as I can to stop that. So now I've got a new colour and I'm in the middle, right in the middle of this gap. So if I carried on now, this little part here would be visible, and I don't like that. So how I counteract that is by going into that gap, pulling up a loop, and I have 2 on my hook, yarn over and pull through 2. So that's my first equivalent of my first chain, and there's my second. So I'm now up to the height I need for my stitch, and I'm going to do, now we're doing this this row here, and we're going to be making an increase in each gap. So what I need to do now is I'm going to do another 2 treble crochets into that gap, and I'm going to work over those tails as much as possible. So now I've got 3, and that is half of my increase. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to just move those aside, and I'm going to go in between each of my clusters, and this is going to be a full increase. When we come back round, we're going to complete the other half of this one, so don't worry that it's odd. So I'm going to yarn over, go into that gap, pull up a loop, and do my treble crochets, and I'm going to do 3. If at any point I go ahead of you, then please just pause the video and catch up. So now I've got 3, I'm going to chain 1 and do another 3 in that same gap. And chain 1. So in between all of our segments we have a chain 1, and in between our increases we've got a chain 1. So again I'm going to find my gap which is there between those 3, and I'm going to do another increase. So that's 3 treble crochets. Remember, that's double crochet in the US. So that's 3, 1 chain, and then 3. And I'm going to do that all the way around, and it will take on the shape of a kind of hexagon. Don't worry about that for now, it will even out. So there we are in the middle of that one, and we're going to do the same. And it's going to get a little busy, but that's fine. You went through 1. So we're an almost round, really. We've got this one to do now. Just need to pull some more yarn out. And now my third one with 1 chain and my other half of my increase. Okay, and we're going to do the same in this one, which is our last full one. And I noticed when I was looking at my swatch just now that I'd made a mistake on that one, so it happens to us all, because I had forgotten to do the second half of my first one, which is here, my last chain. So I need to complete this one, and I didn't on here. I noticed it. See, there's only one. Naughty me. I was tired. I was doing it while I was tired, so that's my excuse. So now I need to finish the second half of this one. So I'm going to do my little cluster of 3. And instead of doing a chain, I'm going to join exactly the same way as I did before, by yarning over, going into the top of my chain, pulling up a loop, but leaving it there for now, and just getting a new colour. So I'm now going to try a lighter colour, just to that kind of makes the darker ones pop a little bit, and I hope I'm not going to tangle up. I think I will be tangling up my yarn, so just bear with me while I pick up the ones that I've already done. Right, so I've got them all sorted, and now I'm back. So again, I'm going to hold on to that one behind, put that one with it, and complete that stitch, which is a half treble in the UK or a half double in the US. So I've completed that, and without making it baggy, I'm going to turn it over and just tie it off. And I know there are people who don't like this way of joining, but I like the security of it. So again, not pulling it too tight, because otherwise it does distort the stitch you're working on. Second knot you can secure a little tighter. So now I've got my new colour, and I'm going to do exactly the same as I did before. Inside this here, I'm going to just insert my hook and pull up a loop, and use that by going through both as my first chain, and there's my second chain. Now we're going to do this row, and this row is all just single clusters, but instead of doing 3 treble crochets or double crochet US, I'm doing 4, and this counts as our first one. So in there we're going to do another 3, and then one chain, and then into our next gap, which is there, we're going to do 4, and one chain, and then in between this increase again 4. Now this is going to help make it round, because we've just made a hexagon and we've got to flatten the curve, which we've heard a lot about that recently in the news, flattening the curve. So just pulling out some more yarn, just bear with me. There we go, another 4 in here. We're just going to continue to do that all the way around. So that's 4 in our gaps between, 4 in between our increases, all separated by one chain. And I'm going to continue doing that. So I'm going to pause the video, and I will catch up with you when I get back to this end here. Right, now I've made it all the way around, and so I'm going to join exactly the same way to my top chain. There's my first, second, third stitch. This is the top of my chain. The same way as I have all the way through so far. I'm going to cut off this yarn and secure this one as well. And then I'm going to continue with this really lovely green. It's a beautiful colour green. So just drop it into, I'll pull out some yarn, bear with me one moment. So now I'm going to, just as I have before, join this in exactly the same way, holding them tight, finishing my stitch in that colour and turning over. If you have a better way of doing your joins, then please by all means do that. Okay, so it doesn't want to get in there, does it? There we are. Always remember, if you do this, not to pull it too tight. So now we've got the green attached, and I'm going to just go in and pull up my loop and do my 2 chain. I'll make that a bit baggy. There we are. Do that one again. There we are. So now this row is exactly the same. I'm going to do 4, a cluster of 4 in each gap. So 3 in this one with my 2 chain, making 4, but it's exactly repeating that row we've just done with 1 chain in between. And we're kind of now stopping it from, because if you look at it, it looks like somebody has left that one of their old records out in the sun. It does flatten down, but we're going to just take a little bit more of that bulk out by just doing 1 in each of our gaps, separated by 1 chain. So it's a nice simple round. And just go all the way around just as we did before. So after this one, I shall pause this video and pick up with you again once I've got all the way around, put in 4 in each of my gaps, followed by a chain to separate. When you've done the last one, obviously don't do your chain. So I'm going to pause it now and I'll catch up with you when I get to here. Okay, so I've made it all the way around, and again doing my join as usual and getting my next colour. And this is where things change just a little bit, and this round we're going to do some increasing, but not in every hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change yarn and use this colour. Just pull out some yarn and join it in exactly the same way as before. I thought it might have got looped around, but it's fine. So just bear with me a second while I touch it. I think if I was doing this as a big blanket at some point now, I would stop and sew my ends in and do it kind of as I go. Otherwise it will end up being a complete nightmare. So with this particular round, I forgot to go in, pull up my yarn, and there's my 2 chain equivalent. So with this round, and I really must stop saying so because it annoys me when I do it, we're going to do an increase and then a cluster, so that we're just expanding again, but not too much. Now it is your personal preference if you want this one to be a cluster that is an increase, or if you want it to be 4. So I'm just going to do this as a 4. That way I will never forget, just need to pull that, I will never forget to finish it, like I did in that other round, by starting with one of my increases. There is a danger that you'll forget to finish it off. So there is my first 4, and in the next one, let's move these tails, I'm going to do a cluster, so that's 3 UK trebles, US doubles, 1 chain, and a further 3 in the same space. One chain, whoopsie, nearly dropped it, and then 4 in the next one. I need more yarn already. And then 1 chain, and then the increase. And I just, when I get to the next gap, I'll show you how I sort of stop it from ever twisting and slanting one way. When I do my segments, see this part here where it's kind of thicker, I think that's what makes the illusion that it starts to travel in a circle, or like twist. So how I come against that is I will go into that corner and I will work over that part so it's gone completely. So I don't have my grannies never twist, whether they're squares, rectangles or anything. I just push those together. They don't twist. So one chain, and now it's an increase, and we're going to continue doing that all the way to the end. And when I did my last one, I couldn't understand why I had an odd number. Well, now I know that it was because I missed one out. But because I had an odd number, I just decided that I would do 2 consecutive increases. So you can, it's not all is not lost. If you find yourself with an odd number of gaps, then by all means, you can either do it just as a 4 or as a increase. Because if you forget to do one as you go round, it will still work out. It will pull itself out. It won't be kind of ruined or anything. So it is quite forgiving should you make any mistakes. Yeah, this is my third one. Lost track of where I was. Just pull out a little more yarn, finish off my increase. So I'm going to pause the video after this one and continue doing this, where you have an increase, a cluster and an increase all the way around, and I will catch up with you when I get back to the start. I've made it all the way round, finished on an increase, so I know I'm right this time, which is all good. And I'm going to join my new colour. And this time I'm going to have this kind of turquoisey, darker blue. Now, apologise if it has got a little tiny bit darker in here, but my neighbour's gardening. And first of all, he had a lawnmower that sounded like a demented bumblebee, but very loud. And now he's got a spade and he's digging at the side of my fence, and I can hear it. So if I can hear it, then you'll hear it. So I'm just going to join this. I don't think it's too dark in any case, so that's cool. And now we repeat those previous 2 rows where we will just do our 2 rows of where we have the just 4 in a cluster. So I'm doing 3 in this one because with the chain it counts as our first stitch. 1 chain in between, and then I'm going to do another set of 4. And we're going to do this for 2 rows, just as before when we were at this stage. We're just going to do 2 rows of this. So we're going to go in between our clusters just like we did before. Don't worry that it's making kind of, those clusters make corners. We flatten them out once we're going round with these 2 rows. So once you have your circle, blanket, whatever you're making at your desired size, then the last 2 rows you need to work are these, because that will then smooth out and make it back into a circle shape again, and then you can put your border on. But always end with these 2 rows, the 2 rows of just 4 UK trebles, US doubles into the gaps with 1 chain. And as you can see, it grows quite quickly, and so that's why I said if you want to use little scraps of yarn, do the very smaller ones at the start, because you don't want to start playing what we call yarn chicken to see if you've got enough left as you go around. That's no fun at all when you know you haven't, or when you get to the end and you haven't, and you have to undo the whole thing. It's no fun. So I'm going to pause the video now, and I'm going to do this in every single gap all the way around until I get to here, and then I'm going to do my second row exactly the same. So I'll come back to you once we've done those 2 rows. Now I've made it all the way round, and this is my second row of just my clusters. I want to show you how it looks. Now it's now become a round, but it's starting to curve up like a basket, because this is now telling you why we need the increase round. You can flatten that out and pull it, but it will start to look a bit misshapen and not be so pretty. So what we now do is the repeat for this pattern is this row here, where we've got 1 increase, 1 shell, 1 increase, 1 shell, and then 2 rows of just shells, and then the next row round we will do an increase, a shell, an increase, a shell, and that way it's going to grow and continue being nice and chunky like this. So that's basically the repeat. Now you can just make this as big as you want. You just need to take care as it gets much larger that you've got enough yarn to get all the way around, or if you're using a cake, that's fine. It's going to colour change for you, so that's no problem at all, and you won't have all these ends to sew in and to crochet in, or whatever you're going to do. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, and if you could like and share this video, it will help me. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.